Okay, I would like to again welcome everybody to tonight's presentation on voting in Delaware 2020. My name is Martha Redman, and I am the chair of the Sussex County League of Women Voters Voter Services Committee. Okay, next slide, please. Are you confused about voting in 2020? Well, you are not alone. Today we are going to review important election dates. We will review how to vote this year, as well as review helpful websites. Next slide, please. The state primary was September the 15th. Next slide, please. The general election is November the 3rd. In order to vote in the general election on November the 3rd, you must be registered to vote, and you must register to vote by October the 10th. If you are not registered to vote, you can go to ivote.de.gov and register to vote right on that website. You must be 18 years of age, you must be a US citizen, and you must be a resident of Delaware in order to vote in this election. Once you if you think you may be registered to vote, but you're not quite sure, you can also, on that website, ivote.de.gov, check and see if you are already registered to vote. Also, if you have either moved or changed your name since you were originally registered, you can update that information right there. Every voter is responsible for keeping their voter registration information updated. Once you register to vote, you will receive from the state of Delaware a polling, I don't know if you can see this that well, but a polling card. The polling card will come in the mail. It has your name, your address, your polling place location, as well as your party affiliation if you chose one, and the legislative districts that you can vote in. You can use this polling card as ID when you go to the polls, but you do not have to use that. You can also use your driver's license, a state DE identification card, a passport, a signed polling place card, a signed social security card, a signed vehicle registration card, or anything that identifies you by signature or photo. If you do not have an ID, you can sign an affidavit which affirms that you are the person listed in the polling books. Once you are registered to vote, you need to decide how you are going to vote. You can vote by mail, you can vote by absentee, or you can vote in person at the polls. Next slide, please. House Bill 346 allows vote by mail due to COVID. It was signed into law by the governor on July the 1st. It can only be used for the 2020 primary and general elections. Next slide, please. For the general election, the Department of Elections will send a request or an application for a mail-in ballot to all registered voters approximately, it says 60 days, but I think it's actually 30 days prior to the November 3rd, 2020 election. This is an application to get a ballot. It is not the ballot. So keep that in mind. Next slide, please. To vote by mail, complete the ballot application form, sign and date it, and mail it in the postage paid envelope included. You can also fax it or email it to the Department of Elections, or you can complete it online at ivote.de.gov. For example, if you were not registered to vote and you got on that website to register to vote, you can also request your mail-in or absentee ballot right there on that website as well. Next slide, please. Your mail-in application will have your name, address, and party affiliation filled in based on your registration information that you provided. You will add your phone number and the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. You can also add an email address if you would like. Your polling place is included on this form. If you are going to vote in person, make special note of where the polling place is, because that's where you will go to vote in person. Do not take your mail-in ballot to the polling place. Your mail-in ballot you mail in or hand deliver to the Sussex County Board of Elections. If you can have your ballot sent to an alternate address other than the one that is listed on your voter registration, if you desire, and there is a place on the application where you can have your mail-in ballot sent to other than your voter registration address. Next slide, please. Once you get your mail-in ballot, you will check off which election that you want to vote for. So actually right now we just have the general election left, which is on November the 3rd. You can elect to request a ballot and return the ballot by email, fax, or mail only if you are sick or disabled. If you are not sick or disabled, you must return your absentee or mail-in ballot by the mail or hand deliver it to the Board of Elections, which if you live in Sussex County is at 119 Race Street in Georgetown. Next slide, please. What about your ballot? You will receive your ballot in the mail after you request for a mail-in ballot is processed. You will fill out the ballot, put it in the postage paid envelope provided, sign the back of the ballot, of the envelope, mail the ballot back to the Department of Elections, or you can drop it in the secure lockbox, which is located at the Department of Elections in Georgetown. The drop box is open 24/7. The Department of Elections will then load your ballot into their system no more than 30 days before the election. It will not tabulate the results until election day. That's why it can potentially take longer to get the results of the election if there are a large number of mail-in or absentee ballots, which cannot be tabulated until 8 p.m. on November the 3rd. Please try to mail your ballot in as soon as possible. You can track the status of your ballot at ivote.de.gov/voterview and see if the Department of Elections has in fact received your mail-in ballot. Next slide, please. How is an absentee ballot different from a mail-in ballot? Request for an absentee ballot requires a qualifying reason, such as work, school, religion, vacation, illness, or disability. Permanent absentee ballot status can be obtained by applying in writing to the Department of Elections office for the county where the voter is registered to vote. You will automatically be sent a ballot for each election where you are granted permanent absentee ballot status. If you are sick or physically disabled, you will be able to request your absentee ballot and return the ballot by mail, fax, or email. Mail-in ballots and absentee ballots are handled in similar ways, actually. Next slide, please. Okay. How to vote at the polls. Most polling locations will be open except for senior centers. Check your polling location, which is on your mail-in ballot application, or you can go to ivote.de.gov/voterview to see your polling location. The polling locations will be open from 7 in the morning until 8 p.m. When you go to vote in person, you must bring your, in addition to knowing the polling location, you must bring a form of ID with you. You can vote at the polls if you requested a vote by mail ballot, but did not mail the ballot back. Note that you may hold up the line as they ensure that you did not vote by mail, because they will then call the Board of Elections to verify that they have not received your mail-in ballot, and they will cancel your mail-in ballot so it cannot be used if you are in fact voting in person at the polls. All voting equipment will be cleaned and sanitized after each voter. Masks will be required, and social distancing will be practiced. New election machines that print out your ballot will be in use. Verify that the printed ballot reflects your choices before finalizing your vote. The Department of Elections will be recruiting 4,000 poll workers. These are compensated positions. If you are interested, go to elections.delaware.gov/information/electionofficers.shtml. Alternately, you can go to tiny.cc/workdepolls. This will take you directly to the web page on the Delaware State website, which has information about becoming a poll worker, as well as an application. Keeping in mind that if you agree to be a poll worker, training is required, and you must be at the polls before they open at 7 o'clock in the morning and stay throughout the whole day until after they close at 8 o'clock at night. Next slide, please. Did you know that you can go on vote411.org and get all the voting information that you need? You can enter your name and your address, and you will get a sample ballot which has the offices and the candidates that you can vote for. There is also information on each of those candidates running for office. The candidates themselves enter the information into the website. So you can educate yourself and pick a candidate whose views on issues are similar to your own. You can also check your voter registration. You can edit your voter profile. For instance, if your address or your name has changed, you can update it there. You can check your polling location, and you can track your mail-in and absentee ballots. That website also has all the latest information that you would need to vote in the next election. The takeaways from this presentation are, if you are going to vote in person, be sure you know your polling location. You can check it at ivote.de.gov. Also have a form of ID with you. It will make it quicker when you sign in at the polls. If you decide to vote by mail, make sure that once you receive your ballot, that you sign the back of the ballot. The most frequent reason the mail-in and absentee ballots are rejected is because they are unsigned. They also need to be received by 8 p.m. on November the 3rd. If you are going to mail them, be sure you get them in the mail. The post office recommends on or prior to October the 27th. Alternately, you can also hand deliver them at the Board of Elections, which, if you live in Sussex County, is at 119 Race Street in Georgetown. There is a secure lockbox there that you can deposit them into. Also, please be patient this election, as it may take a little longer than usual to get the results, as there may be more mail-in and absentee ballots submitted than normal, and they are not counted until the polls close at 8 p.m. on November the 3rd. If you have any questions about any of the information I have covered, as well as anything I have not covered, please put it in the chat box, and Lauren, the librarian, will ask me the questions. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Martha.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to put the spotlight on. Okay. So we've got, so you are, answered the question from Kathy earlier. How early can we drop ballots at the Sussex Board of Elections office?
Yes, okay, I'll repeat that.
Yeah.
The ballots, I believe, they do not even scan the ballots into the system until 30 days prior to the election. So we wait until I would wait until then, until 30 days prior to the election, which they will scan your ballot into the system that it has been received, but your vote will not be tabulated. Be sure that you are not submitting your ballot application form. That is only for your actual ballot. Okay?
Okay. And Sue has a question. I was actually wondering about this as well. If you are 18 by November, is it not true that if you are 18 by November 3rd, you can still register? I was going to ask this as well because I have a cousin who turns 18 on Halloween, and he was wondering if he was going to be able to vote.
I believe you can still register as long as you're 18 by election day.
Okay.
You have to be 18 by election day.
Yeah, okay.
You can vote in the primary if you're under 18, so long as your birthday falls before November or on or before November 3rd.
Now, would he have to register to vote still before October 10th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and so Sue wrote, doesn't one need to sign the ballot as well as the back of the blue mailing envelope?
Yes, you need to follow the directions. When they give you the ballot, they have directions on how to fill it out. So you need to follow those directions, definitely, and as well as sign. But I'm just telling you that the reason majority of them are not accepted is because people forget this last part. So make sure that you do that, okay?
And Pat wants to know, can she drive other people's ballots in to Georgetown?
You can drive somebody else's ballot to Georgetown, but it has to be sealed, it has to be signed, and you have to have permission.
Okay. And Gwendolyn says, people who signed up to volunteer to be poll workers have not heard anything.
Make sure that when you fill out the application to be poll worker, you need to download the form onto your computer. You can't do it from the web browser because for some reason it doesn't go through. So you download it to your computer, you fill it out, and then I believe it has a submit button on it, which connects it to your email. So it will supposedly automatically attach to your email and go to the Board of Elections. But if you do not see it, go to your email, attach it to your email, and send it to the Board of Elections. Alternately, you can always print it and mail it and send it to the Board of Elections.
Martha, Sue Claire, I was told by Bo, I don't know what his last name is, the Director of Elections for Sussex, that they didn't intend to mail out the applications for those who wanted to be poll workers until the end of this coming week.
Oh, okay. So
So
I guess because they just had an election on the 15th. Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's too early.
Okay, so Charlie's asking, can I find out if my ballot has been rejected for any reason, or conversely, has it been accepted?
Yes. You go to ivote.de.gov, and then you can see if your ballot has been received, and also see if your ballot has been accepted. Okay, if it hasn't been accepted, I would call them up and they'll tell you why. And hopefully you have enough time to fix whatever the issue was.
Okay.
Can I just chime in for a minute? It's Gwen Miller here.
Yeah.
I went to the polls to vote for the primary, and they had a new system. And the system was electronic.
Mhm.
So if you had your voter registration card, or if you had your driver's license, they scanned it under this device and it populated everything. If you don't have that, because I asked the questions, if you don't have that, they have to enter it manual. There is no book, there is no piece of paper, there is no sign here, none of that in where I went to vote, it's all paperless. So they prefer the driver's license. They're reading the barcode, and they're reading the barcode on the voter registration.
Right.
So I just, and then, that's something new for people when they get there that we aren't talking about. And then, of course, they give you this card. It's a very long white card. That's going to be new for people. And then you go into the booth, and of course, the new kiosks are completely different, and the card is part of the process. And there's several prompts. Unfortunately, at the primary, the person outside did not go through the steps or let you know how many prompts you had to hit for the next one. So you really can't walk out. But the only way you know it actually happened, that you actually voted, is the card disappears. But I'm just surprised that there isn't any kind of sign or verbiage, language anywhere saying step 1, step 2, step 3 before you walk in there.
Okay. When you go on that website, ivote.de.gov, there is a video which walks you through the whole process of voting from the time you check in at the polls through the time you submit your ballot. So, that doesn't help you if you're at the polls already, but you can see ahead of time what to expect.
Right. So it'd be nice if that video was running while you're waiting in line or something like that.
True. That would be there. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Kathleen asks, could you review the actual tabulation and counting process? Is it physically or digitally counted?
The counting process of the votes, I'm not sure. I mean, on the voting machine, I guess it's electric because it's all there. And as to the mail-in or absentee ballots, I know that they're scanned to the system. I'm not sure how they actually tabulate the votes, but I know that they are, electronically scanned into the system when they first receive them. That way you know that your vote has actually gotten there.
Okay, yeah, she's clarifying counting of ballots for mail-in. Like, how are the mail-in ballots counted, physically or digitally?
I don't know. I don't know about the details of that.
I'm not sure I understand her question. What does she mean by counted?
I guess how the votes are tallied.
I would assume that they're digital because I can't see somebody keeping a piece of paper and making little X's on it for every vote. Seems kind of.
Yeah, once they're scanned into the system, it's all in the computer database.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then maybe they just put your button and says tabulate. I couldn't tell you for sure how it's done. I don't know the mechanics of it.
Okay, Sue wants to know, with these new voting machines, how does one vote for a write-in candidate?
On when you go in there, you put in your little activation card, and then your ballot pops up, and then there will be the choices for the candidates that are running for the offices that you can vote for, and you hit those candidates, whoever you want, with your finger, and it turns the choice screen. If you want to do write-in, the very far column says write-in, so you would hit or touch write-in, and then a little digital screen shows up, like the little digital keyboard, like you get at the grocery store when you're buying, broccoli. That will show up, and then you type in the name of the candidate that you want to write in. And then that will show up on your ballot. And then once you've made all your choices, you've done your write-in, accept everything, you hit accept, and then it will print your ballot. And then once you check your printed ballot that it is in fact accurate, you hit at the bottom of the screen, I believe on the right, it says submit ballot. Then you submit and you have actually voted. So it gives you time to double check things.
As of Monday, there is someone who signed up, Patty Drago has signed up to be a write-in candidate for, I'm not sure if she's running as an independent or as a Democrat for the county council seat, which Schaefer won the Republican election.
Yeah, she wanted, I think, IG Burton to run, but he said he was going to do it as a write-in. So
Correct.
she decided to run herself
She's
for
she-
District 3.
Yes, she reported it, or she filed
But
on,
there's also a write-in,
excuse me?
but there's also a write-in for 6th District.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Lisa Truitt.
okay.
I would assume, I'm questioning, Patty spells her name, at least her comment, I don't know how a write-in ballot is supposed to be. Assuming her name is Patricia, but she goes by P commonly, familiarly, as P-A-T-T-I, last name D-R-A-G-O. But I don't know if the names, I can't remember, like when IG ran in the past, was it his full name instead of his initials IG?
Probably.
Yeah.
He would have filed as a candidate under his real name, not IG.
Right, so you wonder, what brings to mind for any write-in candidate that you might favor, if you're eligible to vote for that person, the need to properly spell it, I assume, the person's name.
Don't I remember something about in Alaska when Lisa Murkowski was the write-in candidate, that they spelled it every which way to Sunday and they accepted every different rendition that came through.
That was Alaska. May your memory be served in the current election.
Okay. So does anyone else have any other questions or concerns?
I have a question on my own name, meaning my signature.
Mhm.
Pretty sure without looking at everything, my voter card would say probably Patricia, full middle name, last name.
Mhm.
But my normal signature would be, if I'm doing a formal one, I would say Patricia, my letter, K, and then my last name. My concern is if I just sign it with the K, would it be thrown out because it's not really my full middle name, which I think might be on file, but
With the state of Delaware has, like, when you sign at the DMV, your
yeah.
DMV signature, they can compare it to that signature.
So
So
that-
however you normally, do that type of a signature, that's
Yeah.
what they would be comparing it to.
Okay, so
And if
even
you
though there's
actually did your voter registration a certain way, I would match the voter registration. I don't think they could.
my signature is just my initial. However, when I got my voter, probably the ballot the last time, it had my whole middle name spelled out. So I
would sign it like that.
Way to sign it, Do I sign it according to the printed way or the way it's on my driver's license?
Well, they're going to compare your signature to the way it is on your driver's license, meaning your handwriting.
Right. Okay, that's what I think I did, but I'll make sure I do it that way this time. Yeah.
But what all these questions raise,
Oh, yes.
when the election is challenged, as I assume it's going to be, the national election, all these issues will, I assume, have a likelihood of coming to the fore.
Yeah, maybe if it's contested in Delaware. Who knows if it'll be contested in Delaware, though?
We're not exactly a swing state.
Yeah.
No, but the issue is relevant across the country.
Yeah.
It's frightening,
Yeah.
my thinking.
Okay. Anything
So,
else?
yeah, I have a question. So I actually did apply for the form, okay, for the
Mhm.
ballot, mail ballot. I didn't fill it out and I didn't send it in because I'm thinking now I'm going to go to the polls.
Okay.
So earlier in your slideshow, you talked about that might be an issue. Do you mean it's an issue if I get a ballot sent to me and I don't send it back, but not the form.
Well, if you don't apply for a ballot, it's no issue at all.
Okay.
But if
there,
you
then
do
I'm
apply
good.
for a ballot and they send it to you, do not fill it out and of course mail it back in.
Right.
Okay, but they will have in the polling book that they have in fact sent you a mail-in ballot. So they will still be required to call up the Board of Elections and say, have you received a mail-in ballot for, Joe Blow?
Yep.
And they'll say, no, we have not, because you said you didn't fill it in.
Right.
So then they'll say, okay, you can vote at the polls, and they will cancel or void your mail-in ballot. So someone else couldn't inadvertently, pick it up and fill it out and mail it in, or
Right. So I never got to that step because I still have the application sitting on my table. So
Yeah.
So then it's not a problem. It's
No.
not an issue.
No.
Okay.
It could be, how some people are confused and maybe they did mail it back in, but they forgot they mailed it back in. So they
Right,
show up
yeah.
at the polls.
Yeah.
So this way we'll make sure that no one can vote twice.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
Despite our fearless leaders' recommendations to the contrary, I, like Gwen, well, I've requested the ballot because I asked for it for all elections, elections.
Mhm.
But I intend to be, well, I'm going to apply to be a poll worker that day, and I too want to vote in person. I wonder whether it's recommended, and I certainly should give it a try, to tell somehow, can you cancel your request for a mail-in ballot? I have not received it as yet.
I wouldn't worry about it. You receive it, just don't fill it out, because you really don't know if the poll that you're going to be working at is the one you would in fact vote at.
No, I was
Maybe they
told,
assign you to a different one.
well, whatever his last name is, that yes, he would promise me that I could work at that poll.
Oh, okay.
But, and therefore I could vote there as well.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me until your presentation that maybe I can cancel it somehow.
Well, I don't think you need to. Just,
Multiply all people like myself who
Mhm.
originally intended way back whenever I made that request, I don't know, last June or something, to have all my mail-in ballots. You multiply, that's a delay in the lines, which might discourage someone behind me from, or because they don't have the time to wait. If you multiply that, that could be another problem.
yeah. But
Particularly if they
you're
don't
there at 7 a.m., you could be first in line.
6:30. We have to be there at 6:30 and could need to stay perhaps as late as 9:30.
Yeah.
Well, that's not likely.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't see any in the chat, but
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, well, thank you all for attending.